does not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff or management of Visionary Related Entertainment.
Aloha Maui Nui. Hey, this is Josh Porter here.
And Jason Verkart, arms up. It's the Solar Coaster.
Episode number, where are we at?
45? 45.
45. That's countdown 8 to our year anniversary episode,
That's
Jay.
correct. We keep going.
Yeah, that's there's not much to say about that. I don't know. It's just crazy. This show right here is optimizing our solar programs, our utility on-grid storage program with Mr. John Borland of J.O.B. Technologies. Did I say that right? J.O.B.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Very good. Excellent.
Welcome, John. How you doing?
Very good. Glad to be here.
Thanks so much
Excellent.
for coming in. John's been here this week with the Maui Energy Conference. We've been working together. We had a great dinner with Tabuchi Electric and all these folks over at Beach Bums. By the way, the best place in the world to have dinner with your colleagues when they fly into Maui. It's very Maui, right? And then Maui Energy Conference with Doug and Fred and all the amazing people there.
That's been the big story. I mean, if you haven't been paying attention, if you were in energy and you haven't been paying attention, then why don't you know about the Energy Conference? But it's been the big thing all week long.
Remarkable conference.
I'm tired.
Yeah, quite a lot going on. And John has very kindly been in our sales training meetings with our team here and helping us really understand how to optimize an on-grid solar plus storage system. And I think John's the only guy in the world that's done this. I mean, honestly, we go to Vegas, we go to San Francisco, we go to Intersolar SPI. We don't hear anybody else out there talking about
that was where we met
that.
him. It was the first time
He
was in Vegas presenting because it's all revolutionary, cool stuff that he's doing to make this thing actually truly pay for itself and net a zero grid buy is the proper term.
Yeah, zero grid buy. Very excited. Kind of a shining light in the conversation of how to make on-grid storage work and actually
Solar Rockstar.
Solar Rockstar.
Rockstar and solar. Absolutely fantastic.
We got a great show ahead. We got a lot of content. We're going to hear a little bit about Maui Energy Conference. We're going to hear from John about his strategies and ideas.
Stay
and
tuned.
methods.
Stay tuned because you can figure out exactly how to make on-grid battery storage work for you and have it pay for itself in an extremely short period.
Absolutely. And Maui Solar Project is a showstopper price of 2 systems I'm going to say in a minute.
Ooh.
Really exciting stuff. This week only. Check it out. Here it comes,
go.
right? So, hey, folks, this is the Solar Coaster. We're on Fridays at 1:05 p.m. right here at KOI 1110 AM in lovely Maui County. You can find us in some FM stations as well. 96.7 FM Central, 96.5 FM Westside, 98.7 FM Upcountry. Call-ins are welcome. 242-7800 is the call-in line. 242-7800. If you want to find out how to get a great system and a great return on investment, unprecedented return on investment, give us a call, and then we'll see if we can share some of the strategies with you. We're going to be doing that throughout the show. We got a great website. Jay, what's going on with the web these days?
Okay, so the solar-coaster.com website, you can go there. You can listen live if you're not in the geographical area. You can't pick up the AM/FM stations. You can get us on the internet right there. You can also jump in the studio. You want to see what John looks like. You want to see what the back of my head looks like. Click on the YouTube link. You can get the live stream right now. You can also go to our podcasts, get all the previous shows in audio form, and on the blog now I've updated with every single previous show, all the videos that we've ever taken.
Thank you, Jay.
So now you can watch the videos as well, but go to our YouTube channel. Click like and subscribe. If you do like and subscribe, it keeps us out there and lets our sponsors know that people watch the show.
Yeah, and we need 100 subscribers right on YouTube. Isn't that like
I think it's 1,000 actually.
Is it 1,000?
It's
You
1,000.
guys missed the zero. I'm always the one missing the zero. All right, so we got some great sponsors to keep us on the air. Maui Solar Project, Tabuchi Electric America, Sonnen Battery, Pika Energy, and Sundrum Energy. These guys are amazing companies, right, Jay?
Yep.
Really are.
Right side of solar, these guys keep us on the air and are just they're making product that helps us get where we need to be.
Yeah.
Not just to make some money.
Yeah, for sure. There are some really kind of big technological leaps that each of these companies are working on, which I'm really kind of proud to call our partners in this. Yep. So MSB, a couple of specific sponsor-related things. Maui Solar Project has a booth at the Queen Kalamanu Mall. We've got a couple of big TVs up there with some videos from these sponsors. You can learn more about them. Jay is threatening to bring down the SOLAR, our augmented reality app from Maui Film Festival. You going to do it, Jay? What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. The issue issue is in the mall that when you can't bring in giant solar panels and equipment and everything else to
We
show
try.
off. Yeah, you did try, and it failed pretty catastrophically.
That's too big.
No,
Go away.
you can't do that. But SOLAR is an augmented reality application that I built for the Maui Film Festival originally.
Yeah.
It's just really cool because you can throw up product data sheets and it'll actually spawn the product in virtual space, but you can actually use your iPad to like a little window into an alternate universe where the product is sitting there. You get a good sense for what it actually looks like.
Yeah.
If you want to
The
live,
scale.
if you want to live with this thing. Yeah.
The coolest one is actually the Smart Flower Pop, because that's like a 12-foot diameter sunflower shaped array,
right?
And you can walk
it's
around it and
much
explore
larger
the scale
than
of
you
it.
think, and
Right.
so when you actually pop one into existence, it's like, oh wow.
So come down to the mall, check out the kiosk, learn all about these great things that we have. Maui Solar Project is doing a this week only John Borland special, the same size system that John's going to be talking about how he optimized his on-grid storage system, roughly the same, 6.9 kilowatts of solar, 23 300-watt Canadian solars, $29,500 out-of-pocket cost, with a net cost of around $13,000. Not too bad, not too
Net
shabby.
cost meaning after tax credits.
After tax credits, that's
There
the
you
Fed
go.
and the
Okay.
state, which are still here for us. We also have an opening price point product at 1.8 kilowatts. That's 6 300-watt Canadian solars with the same equipment, the 10 kilowatt-hour battery bank and the same inverter, for $15,900 with a net cost of $6,000. So that is a pretty radical deal. I'll take one of each, please. They're awesome.
Don't you have a bunch of them? Actually?
Yeah, I got a couple sitting out.
Okay.
But all right, so let's jump into our news and events, Jay. What do you think?
Absolutely. Let's go. All right, right out of the gate, we have India attempting to take pole position in world's clean energy transformation. What is this all about?
Well, I mean, basically, India is making some big moves in leadership. I mean, their goals in the actual overall scale of within the nation are really huge, and we'll find the number in just a second. It says this comes. India chases the world's largest renewable program, targeting 175 gigawatts. I want to say gigawatts.
I know you
sounds
do.
better.
That's why I'm stepping on you.
175 gigawatts of renewable power by 2022.
That's like right around the corner.
It's just 2018.
Is there even enough manufacturing capacity? That was actually another article I had read, and we kind of sidelined that the manufacturers need to double capacity in the next year.
Did you hear that, Andre Richter from Meyer Burger? It looks like some people need some of your tooling equipment out in India.
Absolutely.
And head out there with your smart wire bifacials, right? And you'll be able to ramp up their production. That's pretty exciting.
But it's super aggressive, just absolutely crazy. How much? I mean, how much is rolled out in the United States right now?
Oh, geez, I don't know the number. I don't know the number off the top of my head.
Okay.
I don't have it. Sorry, Jay.
John, no.
Any idea?
It was 13 gigawatts last year.
13
It was down
gigawatts?
from 17.
13, and so they're targeting 175.
Is that the total, or is that's the total?
Install.
Total
thank
install
you.
base.
All right.
Yeah. So they're talking 175 by 2022. That's 3 years.
Yep. 175 by 22. So that is.
I would assume it's the end. So 4 years.
Like 15 times the amount that we have.
That
right
we
now,
have
or something
across
like
the
that,
entire
right?
nation right now.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, crazy numbers.
Wonderful. Kudos to
go for it.
Yeah.
I want to see that. Okay, second up, if solar power is in your state, where do you rank? This was actually really cool because it shows where all the states are, and I saw some major changes. Like California has always been number one as far as they've been keeping track. North Carolina actually number 2. Arizona way up from number 7 to number 3. Nevada. Wait a minute. Where's Hawaii?
Yeah, Hawaii's down here number 14.
We need to 14. Why
right?
are we 14?
Well, I mean, how many people we got out here?
The
Total
problem,
capacity,
the total
right?
installed capacity. The problem is they didn't do that. So where's our honorable mention here for having the most? It's actually in here, isn't it?
Are we the most per capita?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any idea about that
Yeah.
one, John? We don't know.
I think per capita.
I'm almost positive of that.
So if we
because
do a
it's
different
just
graph
massive
here
for me.
that says, or different ranking that says who has the most solar per capita, Hawaii is maybe
would
the
be
shining star right on
would
top.
be number 1. So let's all pat ourselves on
All
the back
right,
and then go
wonderful.
install some more panels.
Did you say, Jay, there were only 44 states in this
And actually,
graph?
yeah, in the I've tried to find Alaska and it's not in here. And then I realized that some people have seceded because there are only 44 states according to their report. But I guess there are some places where there truly just isn't enough solar to even mention. Which is unfortunate.
Wow. Okay.
We'll work on that.
As part of, actually, I'm going to say part of our national section here, let's talk about what's going on in Puerto Rico. We actually just got a text message before the show aired from Kyle Bolger of Blue Ion Energy, and he's a really remarkable fellow. He's on site right now touring a 45 megawatt, largest solar farm in the Caribbean, and touring the damage from the hurricane. I can't remember the name of the hurricane now because there were so many. Was it there was the Texas, and then there was Florida, then there was Puerto Rico recently,
Yeah.
right? But the one that basically knocked out the grid, and so Puerto Rico is this kind of cautionary tale for us, and he's out there looking at 45 gigs of megs. Megs, sorry, thank you. Yeah, thank you. 45 megs, gigs would be, not right. 45 megs of solar farm. And then we have some amazing pictures he sent in. So
this
really,
is a solar farm that existed before the storm and how it weathered. Do you know if they're functional or not?
Well, he said 5% of the. Actually, this is kind of his takeaway. He said, make sure you kind of mention that just 5% of the solar farm was compromised by the storm. So, whereas there certainly. There are pictures of panels in the grass, over the fence. There are pictures of bent, racking and end clamps and things like that. So, I mean, it clearly went through some abuse. But really, 5% of the deployment was what was compromised, and the rest of it's still there. So I'm sure they're snapping wires back together and making sure it's all working correctly. It is a storage plus solar system, but it's only 5% was compromised. So it's actually a kind of a
that's
success
not bad.
story.
This is a ground-based system.
Big
when you're talking,
ground
large install. When you see those fields of solar panels, what looks like a solar farm, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, and this is a really important thing, folks, to just keep our minds on here. We are an island microgrid ourselves. We're an island grid ourselves. We're we're out here in the middle of the Pacific, and I think this is a real cautionary tale for us. We need to get batteries in every home.
Eventually, it's going to happen. The way storms have been in recent memory, eventually we're going to get hit.
Yeah.
And just prepare yourself for that.
Right. I mean, and we're hearing stories. First of all, everybody in the industry seems to be out there. All of our partners and the great companies are out there doing work. I know Tabuchi Electric, John, we were saying they have something like 40 systems deployed right now?
40 plus in Puerto Rico, yes.
Yeah, 40 systems. And
50% of those are off-grid.
They're actually off-grid.
100% off-grid because there is no grid where they install.
Taka showed me a map of how they're all distributed all around the area of Puerto Rico. Up in the San Juan area, you actually have grid intact. But down out towards the mountains, maybe out towards the west more, the tip in like Rincon, I have some family. That area seems to be pretty affected. And like there's just a lot of those systems are off grid,
right?
From what I can tell, anyway. And so we hope to hear more from all of our good partners out there. And it seems like they're doing amazing work and really kind of changing that grid and taking it to a new level. So, but people are definitely hurting, and not everybody has energy right now or power generators. It's really, I mean, we're talking 6 months or something, right? Are we 6 months out of that?
It's been a long time. Yeah, no, that was when we were in Vegas. So yeah,
you don't have power. You can't pump water. You can't use your cell phones. None of these things work, right? So, very important thing for us to keep in mind here in Maui. So we also have some things going on in Maui, Jay. Really important stuff. We had the What do you want to
This
talk
was
about
huge. Well, we talked about it when we left the show last week, that we were going down to Miko to view their presentation. It was a live presentation from Oahu on the new programs.
Yep.
So the new programs are your CGS Plus and your Smart Export situation. We just came up with a utility dive article, one small step for Hawaii Solar, one leap toward 100% renewables. This is very positive. I don't know if I necessarily agree with all their takeaways.
Yeah, sure. There's some controversy here.
There's a lot of controversy, but at the end of the day, there are 2 new programs. They've opened up more space on the grid. If you do want to get in and do solar in a cost-effective way, we're certainly going to talk about that. But if you just want to get on a solar program of some kind, and you probably should, there is space on the grid. That said, these are interim programs, which means they are capped. There is only so much solar available. You said approximately?
Yeah, there's about 7 megawatts.
7 megawatts, right? Which equates to about 2,000.
Oh, how many homes?
How many actual residences that is? I think it's around 2,000.
If it's about 3.5 kW size system.
Ish, yeah.
Yeah, that probably sounds right.
Yeah.
If it's a 3.5 kW size system, 7 megawatts would be about 2,000 actual homes.
Yeah, so that's only 2,000 people are able to get in on this program. So if you're interested in it, do it now.
Yeah, but
you can file for an application and then not do it. But if you want to do it and you didn't file, then you're not going to get in.
Yeah. What is it? What did Doug say that I really like that quote? Get in now. It's only getting worse. With the utility, he has a way of very succinct about some things.
That was quite direct.
But and I know we're going to hear a lot from John about some of his concepts on which programs make the most sense for homeowners, and I tend to lean in that direction as well. Mm-hmm. Just to clarify, people, we've had a program called NEM, Net Energy Metering. That was a one-to-one exchange of kilowatt-hour credits. That's gone as of 2015. We had CGS, Consumer Grid Supply, which came on after that. That was like about a 6-megawatt bucket. That's gone. Some of my friends are still getting permitted, actually. Yep. They're finally coming through.
So they applied a long time ago. That's what I'm saying. You apply a year ago, you will finally get it.
Yeah.
But you have to get through the process and you have to get in line. Otherwise, because you can't apply anymore.
Yeah. And we're going to learn all about the CSS, which is the self-supply system, the one that you don't export any energy. You have your own batteries, you have your own solar, and you manage your own energy.
Self-supply means exactly what it sounds like, is you supply yourself.
Right. And theoretically uncapped right now. Right, and there is some kind of murmurings of a concern about the how when more and more people start to do CSS, is the utility going to try to find a way to disallow that, not to keep that from happening. And the conversation circles around something called reactive load. Now, because the utility, the grid actually needs energy, needs load out there to take all that energy it's producing, right? So there's this dialogue of, this might end up being something where they start putting out IRS statements again. So we'll learn more about that. But right now, CSS, theoretically uncapped. We got a great methodology we're going to learn about with John, right?
Yep.
And there's CGS Plus, now these are, we're going to give you a quick rundown on some of the things that as we understand it right now. We talked to a lot of Miko guys. Shout out to Amy and Shayna and Sharon and Joe for all their help in helping us understand these programs, kind of paraphrasing them for us. The actual conference was about 3 hours, right?
Yeah, we're hopeful to get them on the show in the coming weeks to talk about this stuff directly from Miko. I mean, that's the right way to do it.
I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think so. But after that said, again, as we understand it.
But for CGS Plus, that's kind of the new on-grid, you can backfeed some energy program. So we got about that 7 megawatts availability in Maui. We have some sizing restrictions. So there's a method that they look at your bill and they say, this is the size you should be. So it won't be as big as some of the systems that you may have put in the past. And we'll take a look at that graph in the future. Potentially curtailed. The whole nature of CGS Plus, when we say curtailed, we mean the utility has the ability to say no thank you for that energy at a given time. Now, that being said, speaking to some of the Miko representatives, their takeaway is that it's ranked in a if there's a rank order of curtailment priority, and that this is actually the last in that rank order. So it might start
way down the bottom.
Yeah.
It's toward the bottom. There,
right.
A lot of things would be cut off before CGS residential customers,
right.
But it is a potential.
Right. So very interesting. And how that happens, there's some concern about how that might actually happen. So when it shuts down, does it shut down your whole system in order to capture that reactive?
My understanding is yes.
Yes. So there's which
means even if you have solar on your house, you're not using it.
So we'll have to see how this pans out. Hopefully, Mika can come in here and give us some real good granular kind of clarity on these programs.
Sure.
Smart Export, not boatloads of information on that one.
It seems really, really similar to me as the CGS Plus program. The tariff is a little better because what they're asking for is you to export energy during 4 p.m. to 9 a.m., so overnight. So these are people with solar plus storage, so you have a battery, and they actually want you to export because it's when everybody else's solar is not exporting. That's what they need. They need people to export energy when there isn't any sun. And so the Smart Export, I think, they made it a little bit more attractive by raising the tariffs.
We just got to chuck a couple of micro wind turbines up there, and then we can just shoot it back.
That's exactly what you do. So, or you can put in batteries yourself and discharge your battery, but then you're discharging your battery overnight for everybody else instead of your own use.
But the export rate is something like 14.41 cents a kilowatt hour.
Something like that,
for Maui, right? But the levelized cost of energy over the warranted system life of a battery is kind of the same, right? About the same, right, John?
Or higher, yes.
Or higher.
Yeah, or
so
higher.
it doesn't make financial sense to sell
off a battery.
It's not a good business model, folks. Don't go out and buy a bunch of batteries to go sell.
Nope.
At least unless you have like a really great price on batteries.
Well, there was that one pitch, the smart import concept, where you would actually buy at a really low rate. If you had to have time of use, you would buy at a low rate, store it, and then export when it was you would get a high tariff.
I get to see my favorite.
It was actually just a warehouse. They imagined this warehouse of batteries where you just charge them all on the cheap rate at like 2 a.m. and then export it when they want.
This is one of my favorite
You essentially become a peaker plant.
This is energy arbitrage.
Yes.
Oh, I love saying that phrase. So, but John, this could play a role in your in your presentations possibly. We should consider that. I wonder if you can sign up for TOU and Smart Export at the same time.
Delta's only 2 cents a kilowatt.
Only 2 cents.
That's
Okay.
not going to work.
John's going to be bringing us back down to reality on everything we say
I know.
throughout the show.
Well, that's it.
Okay.
If the delta is better, then you're good.
And one
Okay.
last one, NEM expansion. This is really important because I think
This
this
was
is
hugely clarified in my mind,
Yep.
but not enough.
Yeah. So you can expand. So and we have lots of. The thing is, this could be one of the biggest opportunities for everybody out there. Right?
Absolutely.
You already have 11,000, 12,000 people out there with solar, and here in Maui, and a lot of people want more energy, right? So here's the basic takeaway. We're still learning more about this. Basically, you can expand your system, but you have a pre-approval size. So if you had, let's say, for example, you had 10 kilowatt pre-approval size. That's AC. That's the inverter rating, right? And you want to, and maybe you've got like 12 kilowatts of PV up there, right? And you know what? I really want to get another 2 kilowatts. I want to have 14 up there, right? So you can do that. You can put on more inverters. Theoretically, right? We're still getting this dialed in. Put on more inverters. Get that 14, 15 kilowatts of DC. But you have to give a little bit on the size of your pre-approval. So you come down from a 10 to a 9. They get a 1 kilowatt reduction requirement in order to expand your system. And you may say, well, what's that? Why would that help me? I can't. The thing is, these bigger systems are very rarely hitting that pre-approval amount. Right? Because you have different azimuths throughout the day. They're not all firing at the same time. You have an east, a south, a west, maybe. A lot of these homes are covered, right?
Sure.
So you have certain pockets of PV that are firing. It might only be 4 kilowatts in the morning, 6, 7, 8 kilowatts in the afternoon, maybe. I'm just talking hypothetically here, and a little bit, and something happening in the west. So if you have more solar wrapping around, throughout the entire energy curve, then or throughout the day, and creating a kind of a broader energy curve, that may not impact you. You may get the energy you need. That NEM expansion could be great for you, right?
Right.
So there you go. That's the news. We tried to run through that. I'm sure there's more to learn. And the next thing was the Maui Energy Conference.
Well, Maui Energy Conference is the big news item of the week. You got to go attend a whole lot of the conferences. I was told no. Jonah got to go, but it was again, everything that was going on in energy was happening there all week. The theme was actually different than just solar energy. It was
Decarbonization.
So decarbonization in the sense that how would you remove carbon from every process along the way? You want to remove carbon from the energy the fuel that we burn for diesel, obviously. But if you're burning biofuels are still carbon-based, and you're still releasing carbon. Carbon sequestration, which is capturing the carbon in the atmosphere and putting it somewhere. That was actually the most interesting conversation for me.
Yeah. What was that called? Carbon farming?
The carbon farming thing was
Whoa.
really neat. They were talking about how to change your farm model to capture as much carbon in the root system in the soil as you possibly can. Right. And that would actually, what did they say? Plant a tree. when you leave the conference, plant a tree. You know the old joke. What was the best time to plant a tree?
Oh, 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
What's the second best time?
Today.
Right now,
Yeah.
today. Go plant a tree, folks, because that will capture carbon out of the atmosphere.
Talking to a fourth generation arborist here, buddy.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
so-
You know the deal. That's why you know the joke. Okay.
Yeah. That's Grandpa probably told that joke once a year.
There you go.
So, hey, the Energy Conference was remarkable, and I think that there's plenty to share. Next, we're already talking about the 7th Maui Energy Conference. We're in the 6th was this year, the 7th for next year in 2019, and some really amazing things. We actually were able to get a takeaway after the conference from Doug McLeod, who was the chair. And so,
former Renewable Energy Commissioner.
Yeah, so let's take a listen to what Doug has to say about his experience.
Just coming off a big, you probably prepped this all year long. It's just finished up amazing speakers, conferences, activities. How do you feel?
It's been great. It does take us about 6 months to really put this together. And this was a year where the topic of carbon and decarbonization, it sounds very abstract. And it wasn't easy to make people understand that it is a real thing, it is a practical thing, there are business opportunities. So I feel great having completed all these sessions. I feel like people have changed their perception, and this will be part of the conversation. People who want to go out and say, I have a biofuel project, now people are going to go and say, well, what's the crop you're growing and how does it affect the carbon levels in the soil? And it opens the opportunity for a much more sophisticated conversation about climate impacts.
Excellent. So what I'm hearing is that the conversation for this particular Maui is, and the discussions elevated that level of sophistication for when we start talking about renewable energies. What is the impact in terms of carbon, and can we have a really sophisticated conversation about that? Is that about right?
No, I think you're right. I mean, we've all understood that solar, is a pretty good solution in terms of carbon. But we have all these other folks that are proposing biomass, biofuel, these other kinds of projects on Maui. And a lot of it has to do with a desire to preserve an agricultural business way of life, whatever you want to call it. And I understand that, with the sugar company going out of business. But this gives you a framework to talk about which crops actually make sense and, how could you do this in a way that is less damaging.
Okay, gotcha. So what were some of the standouts in your mind? Did anything surprise you? Were there any kind of things that took you by surprise?
I thought it was very surprising. Just to me, we had a panel on carbon farming, and I don't know if your listeners are familiar with the term. I honestly was one that a year ago I'd never heard the term, but the concept really is that if you can take carbon out of the air and get it into the roots and into the soil, that there really is a benefit, and there's going to be a way to attach a dollar figure to that at some point. That at this particular moment in time, we got a report from the ledge on where they are, and the efforts to enact a direct carbon tax are dead in this legislative session. But it's still an ongoing issue, and you can see that going forward, there's just going to be a lot more attention paid to the details.
Gotcha. Okay. So we just came out of decarbonization. We just came out of 2018 for the Maui Energy Conference. Have you got an inkling of an idea of what's coming next year?
At this point, the only thing I'm really thinking is that in terms of our audience, we need to find a way where we can both have this conversation with people that are already experts in the field, but also kind of introduce the next generation. So I don't know if that means that we go farther in terms of bringing students that are in school or how we do that. But, right now we really are the energy conference in Hawaii in terms of if you're involved in this business, if you are involved with things related to the utility and the Public Utilities Commission. At this point, you know about our conference and you're probably attending. But our mission is really broader. We are not doing this to make money. We're doing this to bring people to Maui, to elevate the discussion on Maui, and also just to look at real solutions. So I don't know what our specific topic is going to be. We're fortunate now that it'll be our 6th year. We're pretty well established, and we can afford to take some risks. But at this point, I really don't know specifically what we need to talk about, other than we need to find a way to get a younger generation of people discussing these same issues. It shouldn't be all gray-haired people like me talking about what the next technology is going to be. That's just inconsistent with tech in general.
Wow, that's very exciting. I mean, we have daughters, I think, in the same school, right? So we think about our children a lot and about how they can get engaged with this conversation. Just as a talking point, to give you a sense of how I think dynamic and kind of exciting this group of people are, I was just looking at Twitter and I saw that Gavin, this amazing young, kind of super articulate fellow from DC, working with Utility Dive as a senior reporter, and he just moderated the last conference we were at. He tweeted about 2 days ago that there was this potential for NextEra to make a play for the utility in 2019 after speaking with, I think, Henry Curtis from Iolani Media. So I saw that, I was watching Gavin, and then I went over and I grabbed Henry and I said, "Henry, is this true?" And Henry goes, "Yeah, but the ledge found out and they shot it down within 24 hours. And I thought, I can't believe how dynamic and just amazing, I can't even think of a better word, that type of cycle of information is. And that's all happening right here in this event that's been created by you and Fred and a bunch of other fine folks, I'm sure.
Again, we really have been fortunate that we have established a homegrown Hawaii Energy Conference, and there are other conferences out there. There are lots of them, but at this point in time, we are able to attract a level of talent that's really extraordinary. And you mentioned Gavin Bade, and you know, he is 26 years old and he is absolutely brilliant, and I am just so proud. This is the third year we've gotten him here. And again, we talk about taking chances. So a few years ago, we took a chance to bring, you know, someone who was 23 years old and put him on the stage and say, no, he really has something to say to this industry of older utility executives. And now they agree. And so that is great. And that's one of the good things we've been able to do. And this year, I'm actually proud that, you know, I talked about, I'm still not happy about our audience, that, you know, it's all the people that are in the field. But in terms of the speakers we're bringing up, I do feel that we, as the Maui Energy Conference, have brought on a new generation of speakers. And Will Giese from the Hawaii Sierra Club and the Hawaii Solar Energy Association, another person who really just extraordinary talent and just hasn't been given an opportunity to really get out on the main stage. So both Gavin and Will are examples of what we're trying to do. And the only thing I can promise for next year is we're going to be doing the same thing. I mean, we are looking for people that aren't just names that you've heard of. We want to look at their underlying message, and the people that have a message that's really interesting and different, those are the people that we want.
Okay, this is really exciting, and thank you so much for sharing that. You know, when I think about what you're talking about, Gavin's a great example of what you just said earlier, right? You're looking for people, a younger generation, to kind of diversify the audience, diversify the participant base. It almost sounds like it's a call to finding young champions out there across the country that are focused, devoted, and enthusiastic and capable about renewable energies, decarbonization, the general energy conversation, and saying, hey, come join us and be a part of this. Is that what I'm hearing?
You find us the top 10 people in the country, and we'll pay to bring them to Maui. It's like that. So
that's a scoop. I love it. That's beautiful. So you heard it right there from Doug McLeod, Maui Energy Conference 2018. Amazing experience. Thank you so much for all the hard work. Thanks to all your staff. And is there any last minute comments, last things?
No, and we appreciate that Maui has got a homegrown energy industry, and your show is an example where it is tremendously valuable to us to have a knowledgeable base of people here. It's part of what keeps us credible. You know, I said we'd bring the top 10 people, top end young people, you know, in the country here, and I mean that, but part of the reason we can do that is that people in our community continue to support renewable energy. There's just a genuine interest. You go into a room of Maui people and you talk about solar energy, it is hard to find anyone who is against it. People would laugh, like, what are you against? And that is not the case everywhere in the country. And it is just, sometimes we take that for granted, but being on Maui gives us this incredible base of support. And also, particularly with solar, there is a level of expertise here that's very nice for us to be able to fall back on it. And one last point, this year we did a conference for the Japanese government, and it was actually on the Tuesday right before the main Maui Energy Conference, but we were able to take them on a tour of sites around Maui, and the fact that we had so many interesting energy projects for the Japanese government to see is because of what the solar industry has done here.
Got a little bit of goosebumps on that one right there, because been duking it out for about a decade here in the industry, so thanks very much for that, and thanks for all the hard work you do. I think it's just spectacular. All right, aloha.
Yeah.
All right, that's cool. I know I was dying here before, but that brings the energy back. You know, the conference was just fantastic. The people are fantastic. They're all moving in the right direction, and
did everybody hear that right? Doug McLeod, thanks for that interview, by the way, Doug. I appreciate you taking the time after the conference to kind of give us your takeaway. But Doug's like, hey, we need younger people. We want to have the new young generation of solar champions across the country. And he says, find me the top 10 kind of solar champions, and we'll fly them out here to Maui. So folks, if you're listening,
our mission now?
I'm on it. I think it's a great mission.
Oh, absolutely.
And by the way, Doug, we shared that message a little bit this morning, so you might get some calls.
Excellent.
So hey, we're running behind schedule as usual for the coaster. We're going to try to button that up in the future, but I do think that was just an amazing interview, and I'm so stoked to do that, to have that opportunity to see where it goes in 2019. So let's jump over to our commercials, and then we're going to jump right into a great conversation with John Borland and learn all about optimizing on-grid solar plus storage.
Aloha and welcome to Maui Solar Project. It is easy to feel rejuvenated just stepping outside on a magnificent Hawaiian day. Maui Solar Project is here to help harness that energy you feel in your body and use it to power your homes and businesses. As lore tells us, Maui harnessed the sun so as to slow its path across the sky. Join Maui Solar Project as we harness the sun's energy and slow Hawaii's dependence on fossil fuels. Call Maui Solar Project at 269-2352. MauiSolarProject.org.
Switch Electric. a leading worldwide inverter manufacturer, presents the second generation of the Eco-Intelligent Battery System, the IBIS. Tabuchi's grid-friendly system includes a high-efficiency inverter, stackable batteries, and integration with Jelly software for the most adaptable battery storage system on the market. The system is optimized for energy management and cost performance. Maximize your solar investment with Tabuchi's electric Eco-Intelligent Battery System.
The Sonnen Battery Eco is an energy storage solution that utilizes intelligent energy management software. The system is available in a variety of storage capacities and allows for expansion. Sonnen Battery Eco allows you to save money by harvesting energy from your solar PV system and using that stored energy when rates are more expensive. Sonnen Battery Eco is specifically designed to provide you and your family peace of mind in the event of power outage. Our unique power detection system will sense outages in real time and automatically switch over to battery power. See Sonnen Battery Eco at sonnen-battery.com.
MIT founded Pika Energy, makers of the Pika Energy Island, a smart energy management system that uses solar panels, lithium batteries, and intelligence to manage your energy and keep you powered even during outages. With a clean, intelligent alternative to grid power, you're in control of your energy future. Pika's Energy Island lets you manage electrical costs with HECO-ready self-supply functions. Pika's largest battery, the Harbor Plus, offers 16 kilowatt hours of stored energy and can power loads of up to 10 kilowatts. And if you need more capacity, just add a second or even third Harbor Smart battery to the same system for a maximum of 48 kilowatt hours of usable storage. Pika Energy, own your power. To learn more, visit pika-energy.com.
Sundrum Solar is the manufacturer of a revolutionary thermal collector that fits on the underside of your standard PV panel to maximize energy capture per square foot. The Sundrum Solar Hybrid PVT system, combined photovoltaic and thermal, holds the world record for peak hour efficiency, capturing an astounding 86% usable energy. Learn how Sundrum Solar vastly improves electric, heating, and cooling economics at sundrumsolar.com.
Okay, there were our wonderful sponsors, and they basically allow us to do what we do. So
yeah, they
thank
keep
you
us
so
rolling.
much.
Thank you again, sponsors.
All right. Yeah, go for it, Jake.
Oh, I want to roll right in with John. So we've been teasing this all day. John Borland is a tremendously intelligent consultant gentleman who has spent the last number of years fine-tuning and tweaking his own personal lifestyle and systems to net a zero grid buy. I said that at the head of the show. What does that actually mean? That means even without any kind of NEM program, even without backfeeding, he pays the minimum charge most of the time at this point. Yeah. So the minimum charge, which is like he lives on Oahu, so it's like $17 charge on his electric bill every month, and that's the most he's ever going to see. Yep. That's phenomenal.
That's unbelievable.
How can you do this?
Yeah.
So yeah, zero grid buy. What does it mean? It means you're not paying. How does this? Why would you want to do this in the first place? I mean, what's wrong with your electric bill?
So I started out at about $400 a month.
That's a lot.
When I signed up, NEMS was no longer available.
Right.
And the way people got the economic benefits was zero net metering.
Okay.
So the only way to achieve zero net metering is zero grid buy.
Right.
So that's why my whole focus was on how do I achieve zero grid buy. And it took me 10 months working with, again, my installer and again, Tabuchi Electric to optimize my system.
The Tabuchi Electric being the manufacturer of the equipment that you purchased, right?
Right. The software, the hardware, the battery integration. Again, because you need to have the intelligence of the control system.
Yeah, we've talked about Tabuchi's system as well. On air, it is a fully integrated unit. So the battery is made by Tabuchi. The inverter is made by Tabuchi. The control software is made by Tabuchi. So it's very, I almost want to say Apple-esque in that it all integrates very tightly. It's one tight solution, right? Yeah. So yeah, you've got a $400 bill. That's a problem. But I mean, how do you get there? When you first installed this, my understanding is you bought a battery because it was the cheapest quote you could find, and then what happened?
Yes. So I bought the system. Again, it was the cheapest that I found on the market. And after the first month, my savings was only 50%. So my bill was still $200. So I was really angry, frustrated. It was like nowhere near zero net metering or zero grid buy. Mm-hmm. So I went both to my again the solar installer and the again Tabuchi Electric and complained. And we did, again, a bunch of continuous improvement programs from a software, from a hardware, for the next 10 months.
Okay, so you actually went back to the manufacturer and told them this isn't working the way it's supposed to. How can we fix this?
No, it's working the way, again, they specified, but I just wasn't satisfied.
Right. Okay.
You wanted more out of it.
I wanted more because, like I said, I wanted to achieve zero grid buy.
Right.
And so there's things you can do, from a hardware, software optimization, but also required, again, lifestyle behavioral changes.
Sure.
Because, again, you need to be, what I learned is by doing this, I was able to achieve what I call renewable energy conservation minded. And when you become renewable energy conservation minded, you can now make your lifestyle changes, such as, only using the key household appliances during the key solar output times. So you have to identify, do a Pareto analysis of the key top 6 home appliance energy consumption items, and then see how you can, again, reduce the amount.
So in your house, and I think in most houses it's pretty much the same, but in your house, what were the big draws? What were the big problem areas?
Yep. So it's also seasonal. So during the winter months, the electric hot water heater is the number one, again, source of energy requirements.
Mm-hmm.
Summertime, it's the air conditioner. So during the wintertime, I had to therefore supercharge the hot water so I can, again, using the solar hot water to basically eliminate the grid buy. Mm-hmm. Summertime, I would have to use cold thermal storage to, again, optimize my AC and AC electrical cooling.
So is it basically correct to say that you had a $400 bill, so you had roughly like 50 kilowatt hours a day usage, right?
47, yes.
47 kilowatt hours a day usage. And then you put in a 7 kilowatt system, a 7.1 or 2, right? And you had a 10 kilowatt hour battery bank that you could use about 6 kilowatts of that energy. And then you put it in and you knocked out about 50% of your usage. That was what happened, right? But then it sounds like you went on this kind of course, this road for the next couple of years.
I want to say quest.
Quest. Yes, a quest is a great term.
Yep.
And you started to figure out ways to optimize that. But isn't that, would it be accurate in saying that a big part of that is taking those loads that you're using throughout the day and kind of moving it into that daytime energy curve as much as possible? Is that a big part of the conversation?
That was all part of the original, say, 50 or 60% savings.
Okay, that was part of the original 56%.
Right.
Okay.
Because I had done the lifestyle behavioral changes, again, using the dryer only between 10 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon, dishwasher a certain time, again, putting the refrigerator on a timer so overnight you don't consume all that. Yes, so I had done all that. But then it became the issue of, again, like, optimizing the software in terms of maximizing your battery charge or discharge during the day. So that really required working with the Tabuchi and their software engineer, because you want to make sure it's again, optimizing maximum efficiency between PV production, battery charging, battery discharging. So those were some of the subtleties. And again, improving their inverter performance, output capabilities, optimizing my hot water tank to get even more supercharged, hotter temperatures. Those were the...
Both of those things are really interesting to me. First, that you were able to go back to the manufacturer and actually work with them to improve their existing hardware. I mean, they thought their system was pretty good. And you came around and said, no, we need to do X, Y, and Z. And they actually did it. That's
and
the
big Japanese thing. Manufacturer actually did it.
That's wonderful. I mean, that's not always the case, right?
No, absolutely not. Yeah, we'll stick your little thing in the suggestion box and you'll never hear about it again has been my experience.
And that makes perfect sense to us, and not because we're doing business with Tabuchi Electric. I'd say we're doing business with Tabuchi Electric because of that characteristic. And you sit down and you talk with Harumi-san and Masa and Ben and Christina and all these wonderful people, and you can tell that and you know what it is, it cascades all the way down from the owner. Who really wants to be here in the United States doing business. And Harumi told us that story. Harumi-san told us a great story about how the owner had, made this attempts in the 90s to be out in the inverter business out in the East Coast of the United States. And this is the great opportunity for Tabuchi to expand its operations out here into the United States. So this is a major priority to come here and do the right thing and take care of the community and support their product line.
It is that. You talk about wanting to do business here, and that's part of it. But realistically, they're looking at like island states like us. They just went through this issue with the Fukushima disaster. They look at us as a kind of kindred spirit, and they really want to make sure that both Japan, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, that's the reason why they're out there. They've got 40 systems deployed already. But they really, really do care, and they want to make sure that we're covered when there is the next disaster, whatever it happens to be.
Gotcha. Okay, so John, tell us a little bit more about some of these steps you took, and the main thing really is we want our listeners to understand, in very straightforward terms, what made this work. Can they do it? can they get a similar system that you had, and can they achieve the same goals?
Yeah.
What did you achieve? We put it out on. That was a pretty big one, right?
Yeah, you talked about cold thermal storage. I don't think anybody understands exactly what that is, except for me, because I've heard the story before.
but again, the key is, again, most people, again, that was also part of the frustrating part of the conference. You know, with this new policies for the CGS Plus and Smart Export, it makes it very difficult for new residential customers to adopt rooftop solar. And so again, that's because, again, they're trying to export, and there's no way you're going to export to achieve zero net metering. So you can never get the same savings. My approach is no export, and therefore achieve zero grid buy.
Yeah, you keep your energy and you use it.
Right. And so again, the key is zero grid buy. And by achieving that, I'm therefore achieving the same result as zero net metering, but I'm doing it all internally. So it's called, island nanogrid operation to achieve this.
I like that. You'll hear that term more and more. Nanogrid, the microgrid is like, you can imagine, like a subdivision that would all share its own power. The nanogrid is truly like not extending past the walls of your house.
A single structure or dwelling, or it could be like a small condo, townhouse unit.
Sure.
They can also become nanogrid. Self-sufficient. Yes.
Gotcha.
Nice.
And one of the things, that the goal that, if I understand correctly, you were able to run the math and show that you have a 2.7 year break-even point, simple payback period, which is, unprecedented for sure. I haven't seen anyone else talking about these kinds of numbers with on-grid storage, solar storage packages.
And no export.
Right. No export. So that's actually like faster than NEM, really.
Yes, exactly. Because you're not oversizing your panels, you're not paying the extra for the PV, which you have to do with NEMs, because again, the NEMs are only going to get 1/3 back of whatever you send. So you're going to have 3 times the size of your panels to break even with NEMs.
So this is kind of like 50% behavioral modification and 50% of what this kind of CSS system equipment can do, right? The hardware can do. And then the approval from the utility to say, yeah, I do, go ahead and install this consumer self-supply system.
Yes.
Right.
And so again, that's why currently, therefore, I am grid tied. So I buy from the grid on rainy and cloudy days to recharge my batteries.
And there was a little trick here. You had a special sauce, right? There was a little trick which had to do with another program that you elected to join after the CSS system.
Yeah.
And then what did you do?
So after 10 months, again, because in HECO and again on Wahoo, the price is 30 cents a kilowatt. So I then, after 11 months, I signed up for time of use, TOU. So with a TOU, I'm now paying 13 cents from 9 to 5. And then therefore it's 36 cents from 5 to 10, and it's 26 cents from 10 p.m. to 9 a.m.
Right.
So during the TOU, the daytime uses, that's when I would then charge my battery, charge my everything using the grid buy on cloudy and rainy days.
So whenever it's cheaper.
Yes, exactly.
Wow, this is that's pretty amazing. So you have a CSS system, you have a TOU election, I guess. You elected to do time of use.
And there's another key point. Again, people with battery, you don't want to over discharge your battery. So again, a lot of people will discharge their battery within the first 3 to 4 hours at night. Then it will never last overnight. Again, you need to make sure your battery doesn't drain before the next morning. And so that's why the key energy use at night is hot water heating. So that's where it's critical to have the right solar, or what I call hot thermal storage. So you have enough hot water capacity to last overnight, so you don't waste discharging your battery for that.
So in the case of this one major load, probably the largest one, right? You have with your electric hot water, your solar electric hot water, you're getting as much generation from the solar panels as possible. You actually put on a couple extra solar panels, oversize your solar thermal, solar hot water panels and you have a little extra storage in your tanks, so that energy that you collect during the day in that area can last through the night. Is that what I'm hearing?
Right. So therefore, the battery is just purely used for all the other incidental appliances. Because again, the hot water heater is the #1 overnight energy usage.
Okay. So and then air conditioning during the summertime? How did you optimize that?
So again, the AC again with most people are concerned about when they come up from work, they turn on the air conditioning to cool the house off. Again, you're now spiking up to like 5 kilowatt hour usage. While during the day, you have all the panels and it's just producing electricity. So the key is to again cool your house down during the day, and therefore when you come up from work, your house is already like at 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So you don't need to turn on the AC at night. You just just turn it off when you get home.
So you're cooling off the actual structure of the house, keeping
during the day.
All the materials, everything that's in your house. You want to chill it all because that's your ballast.
And because I'm no export, all that PV is wasted anyway. So I'm using it now to run my AC during the day during the summertime.
Right.
Okay, so those are two of the big kind of rocks in the conversation, right? And then, of course, the other ones we talked about, the dryer and the dishwasher, and trying to run those heavier loads throughout the day. And is that pretty much the story in terms of how you manage loads?
Right. Again, you need to identify your key top 6 home appliance, and then you look to see what's the correct renewable energy source to use to run those, and put an order of what's first, second, and third priority.
Gotcha. And how can clients or homeowners or listeners do that? Is it through energy monitoring? Is it through technologies like that?
Again, yes. So I had to initially put on 3 different energy monitoring devices. 1 hour device, a 5-minute device, and a 1 minute. And that allows you to identify those energy spikes. Again, they're spikes, they're not peaks. They're energy spikes.
We talked about that before, which means you need to select the right energy monitoring system in order to make it work.
And what level of granularity do you need? Like 30-second hits?
Well, no, 1 minute to me is sufficient.
1 minute? And I wonder what Solar Analytics is. Is it 1 minute or is it 5? What's SMAPI? SMAPI is pretty...
SMAPI's like multiples per second. It's fast. It's an PGA.
Well, we've got access, so we have access to some great analytics devices we can recommend to people out there. If you want to go down this road, go down the quest, the John Borland quest, to be able to optimize, maybe get close to a 2.7-year payback period.
Another key point is, again, this also gets rid of the duck curve. So if everybody does this, the duck curve utility problem will go away.
Yeah, the duck curve problem, for the people that don't know, is the fact that during the day we have all this residential solar, all the solar that's basically on the grid, starts to produce. And it's actually a problem because it's not when people use the majority of their power, right? I mean, there's air conditioning, but most people go to work. They all share the one air conditioner in the office. It's less than that. So there's a huge amount of energy available on the grid, and yet there's not that much demand for it. And yet when everybody goes home, the process reverses itself. The solar just starts to ramp down, and yet everybody comes home and turns on their TV, watches HD Netflix, kicks on the hot water, takes a bath, whatever it happens to be, sucking up huge amounts. Everybody turns on their own home AC. So it's a massive shift in energy demand.
This is a great opportunity to segue to our future focus here, because John mentioned something to us, which I think once you get past the idea of bringing loads into that curve and then using your batteries to handle loads outside of the curve, then you have to say, well, what else can we do? Well, if you can broaden the shoulders of that daytime energy curve, then you could actually have some real opportunity there to kind of mitigate that duck curve, right? So what was that? Now, we're really into bifacials, John. It's kind of our special little
Josh likes them.
Happy place talking about bifacial solar panels.
Yep.
So you said something to me which just blew my mind. Can you tell our listeners about it?
Yeah. So with a bifacial facing vertical, you basically get a twin peaks, is what they call it. So actually shift the midday peak, say from 12 o'clock, 4 hours in the morning to 8, and 4 hours in the afternoon to like 4. And that will help alleviate the morning peak and the evening peak. And so again, going to vertically standing panels like bifacial or highly tilted panels will give the same sort of effect.
So, folks, if you caught that, we're talking about taking a bifacial panel that has energy capture possibility on both sides.
Right.
And let's say you have an east-west facing house, and you go down your ridge line. Tell me if I'm wrong here, John. You go down your ridge line on the top of your roof, and you lay out maybe horizontally. You lay out vertically. 5
all
or 10
panels
panels
sticking straight
up
yeah.
like a mohawk, right? Which is Jonah's idea with that advertisement we did earlier today. And you're able to capture more energy early in the day and more energy later in the day, and you get these 3 peaks in your energy curve. If you have existing solar, then you get your standard curve and your standard peak, and a morning and standard, and then an afternoon or evening.
Yeah, this is a future focused thing, but I've seen there are fields in Germany that they're actually already doing this, and it looks so weird, but it makes perfect sense. When the sun comes up first thing in the morning, what's it facing? The flat of that panel, and I guarantee they're pulling a good amount of energy off it.
Hey, John, can't thank you enough for coming on the Solar Coaster. I'm sorry we didn't have more time. There's so much to cover this week, but we really got the main points of your presentation, which is just brilliant, and we're so thankful to have you in the industry doing all the hard work and helping us and sharing with us insights into how to accomplish the same goal. So
yeah, we do have access to all John's material. If you do have questions, you want to ask more to us, go to the solar-coaster.com website. Go down the bottom, fill out your little application there. You can send us questions or call into the show anytime.
If you want to be the first vertical bifacial person in Maui with some sun cream sticking up from your ridgeline, do give us a call. We do have some here, and then we also have these great deals from Maui Solar Project, the 6.9 kilowatt system for $29.5 this week only. Give us a call. Hey, this has been the Solar Coaster, sponsored by Maui Solar Project, Tabushi Electric America, Sonnen Battery, Pika Energy, and Sundrum Solar. Thanks so much, fellas, for a great show.
Happy Friday.
Aloha Friday, folks.